Good morning, y'all. We have a super special Glam Chats today. I'm really excited. I have my really good friend and client for years, Denise Simpson, Dr. Denise Simpson. She is a powerhouse. I've been seeing her doing her hair every 2 months for what, Denise, fifth, for 12 years, 14 years. I don't know. I don't even
13.
know anymore. 13 years.
13.
Yeah, 13 years. We chat all the time. It was so funny because every time she would come in to get her hair done, we would learn something else that we both had in common, and that's what, has really drawn us together, and so we still see each other every couple of months, and I really wanted to bring her on Glam Chats, um, to talk about a really fun topic, but before we dive in, um, Denise is the CEO and founder of, Masters of Leadership Institute. She's passionate about leadership, and what I love is while she does coach men, she really specializes in women and women leaders, and I mean, probably all women. I always felt like, "Oh, I can't work with Denise because the women she's working with are like these are powerhouse CEOs of major company women. Um, so it's a really big deal and really cool. I learn something new from her every single time she comes in. So Denise, tell us a little bit more about yourself. I called you a coach. Do you call coach? Because I mean, you're a doctor, so it's like I
I
feel like that might not even be the right description.
well, it's one of many titles that I
Yeah.
have, and so you said it, I'm a CEO and founder of this institute where I obsess over solving problems for leaders.
Mhm.
So leaders are hired to solve for problems in their organizations, and they come to me to help them through those obstacles.
Love it.
And it's become an obsession, and so through the institute, we offer executive coaching, we offer leadership training and development, we are in organizations around Austin, and we do workshops, and primarily, we're driven by research, and
Yeah.
so we call ourselves public academics
Mhm.
in my institute because we do not work for a university. We created our own institute of research so that we can have the freedom and
Right.
the agility to serve whoever he or she is or they are on that pipeline of leadership. And everything is evidence based, research based. And so we bring the best to our clients. And so, yeah, I'm a coach and so many other things, right?
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. Every time, I almost feel guilty because I'll like we talk about our lives and then I'll sneak in a few leadership questions. Like I'll ask her a few things and like get these like nuggets of, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm not paying her. I have to stop. But
Yeah.
every time Denise is in my chair, every time we see each other, and I think this is we really light each other up. So I always feel inspired. Um Even if it's just to have a better day, but a lot of times it's like I'm inspired to try something or do something. And so that's what brings us to our topic today. So I have permission to talk about Mick. Um this is going to be a two-part podcast interview where this first part we are going to talk about dating and relationships. I know it's funny for two married ladies to talk about dating and relationships, but we did it. And
We did
Denise
it.
knows her stuff. She knows her stuff. And she came in the other day, and Mick was just struggling and she was talking about some things she was going through. And Denise just like loaded like a 2 weeks course worth of advice in about 10 minutes. And Mick was like, oh my gosh. And she is gonna be like our case study because she's already trying the things that we're gonna talk about today. So next week or in the next couple weeks, we're gonna bring Mick on and we're gonna talk about the dating she's done using what Denise taught her. So it's gonna get kind of juicy. And then we're gonna open up a Q&A if anybody wants to join us. I'll let you guys know the time and date. Go ahead and DM me and start getting on that list. But if anybody wants to join us, you can ask us all of your relationship questions or relationship as it applies to business questions too. So that's what's so fun about this topic is while we talk about dating and how to enter relationships, and I would even say it's fair, these are friendships. This is all relationships. It's also how you can enter into business relationships and client relationships to be more effective. So, Denise, if you want to take over and tell us a little bit about this concept you've created and what you teach, we'd love to hear it.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting, and I'm so glad Mick is on board and excited, and I have
Poor
to
Mick.
yeah, and I echo what you say because when I saw you last, you and Mick last time, we were ignited. It
Mhm,
was like the
mhm,
energy
mhm.
filled us up. It was talking about these relationships and how to build these relationships outside of business, and then that's when you came up with the idea, "But wait a minute, like, this also applies to business."
Yeah,
And so something that and you touched on it, something that is so important to remember is how we do one thing is how we do everything.
right.
And so I just want for us to look at these areas of our lives right now. Our financial area,
Mhm,
our family area, career area, right? Entrepreneurship or business area, our intimate relationships, maybe even our friendships. And we look at these areas of our lives and we want to look at the results that we've created in these areas of our lives.
mhm,
And if there is a result that you have created in a very specific area that is unfulfilling,
right.
unsatisfying, maybe hurtful, maybe there's some trauma, maybe there's some healing that needs to be done in this area. I just want for you to pay attention to that area. And the area that we're talking about today, the two areas we're talking about today is our businesses and our intimate relationships.
Mhm,
And the commonality between these two areas are relationships, just
right.
like you said. And so, how are we treating our clients in this context of business? Are we looking at what they desire and what they expect from the exchange of value that we're having?
Mhm,
Right. And then we also want to look at the intimate relationships. What is the desires and expectations that you have in that particular area? Right, and also, what results have you been creating here? And that's why that conversation with Mick was so important because there were results that she was creating in the
yeah,
intimacy space that was unfulfilling.
right.
And so when we look at these areas and we need to consciously ask ourselves, "Did I create that intentionally? How did I get to this point where I am, you know, heartbroken in this relationship
Right.
or I didn't have boundaries in this relationship or I just, it just fell off the rails. Like, how did we get here?" And
Mhm.
so going back to the commonality, one of many between these two areas are the relationships that we have with one another. And so it's what's interesting about yours and my relationship is I remember, moving here after being gone a year, moving back from North Carolina to Texas, and I remember calling the establishment that you were at, and I asked the woman who answered the phone, I said, "Give me the best person." And she said, "I don't I can't do that, but I can't do that, but, you're gonna wanna see Rebecca." And I'm like, "Excellent."
I love it.
So, I go see you, and immediately, the relationship building began because
Yeah.
you had the foresight of starting this empire, right? You were headed in
Yes.
that direction, and you knew the value of relationship building.
Right.
And so when I sat in your chair, you made me feel like I was the only person in your world. You heard my desires, you heard my expectations, you brought all of that value, and there was this exchange of energy and, of course, money because of the services that
Right.
that were rendered. But that relationship has brought us now to this day
Yes.
where I'm seeing all the relationships that you built
Mhm.
to create and I'm calling it an empire, excuse me, but,
Thank
I
you.
think it's dynasty, I don't know, what do you want me to call it? Because it is quite incredible, and
Well,
so
I just real quickly, do you remember whenever I did your podcast with you? And during that podcast, it was during the COVID shutdown, and I announced I was opening my 2nd location, and now we have 7. Isn't that crazy?
oh my gosh. So every
Yeah, I
time
just
I
thought it
see
just
you,
popped into my head.
there's news from you. There's
It's
news from
wild.
you. Every time I see you, it's like, "Okay, we're opening up another one." "Wait, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" And so it's because of you knowing what your desires and expectations are in your business
Mhm.
and knowing that relationshiping is important. And
Right.
that's where you build relationships, not only within the industry, right? But outside of the industry,
Right.
the contractors, the building
Absolutely.
inspectors, the banks, and so
Mhm.
forth. And so that's what I want for us to think about as we're moving into these conversations in these two episodes. What relationships? How do those relationships feel in your life? What kind of
Right.
results have you created because of the quality or lack of quality in these relationships?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I think that's perfect. And I actually not I don't this might not even be the best word, but when you're talking about the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And if there's one place that's failing, even if everything else is working, I got a little triggered. Cause I think there's some things, not with my relationships, but just there are some things I was like, oh my gosh, like that's
Mhm.
why. Yeah. So it's already got my brain going on things like, okay, I need to shift focus to this one thing that's really not working
Mhm.
instead of focusing so heavily on what's working and pushing that out of my consciousness until it, like, forces its way back in, which it
Yeah.
always does. So,
Totally. Yeah, and that whole doing one thing how you do one thing is how you do everything.
yeah.
It's because we carry our brain and our heart and our values everywhere we go. So, and I'll give you this example. I have senior level CEO founder clients who will say to me, "I've compartmentalized my broken marriage over here and
Right.
I show up like this empowered,
Mhm.
successful CEO and founder. So, I have them separate, so they think. So
No.
they think. And
Yeah.
then I have to remind them of the neuroscience. I'm like, "No, ma'am.
You can't.
We take our brain and our heart everywhere we go,
Can't.
and trust that it will seep into all these other areas of your life unconsciously." But now
Yeah.
that we know, we can be conscious of our actions, of our emotions, our behaviors, and the results we wanna create in these other areas. And so know that things seep into all of these different areas of your life, and it's
Right.
important to pay attention. And the question is, what are the results I'm creating? And am I
Sure.
happy with those results? And if you're not, then do something about that. But again, we're talking about these 2 very important areas,
Sure.
intimacy or dating, right, in these relationships, and then our business practice, our enterprises, our empires that we're building.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think that that's so, so true. Okay. My brain is just, like, spinning with, like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna call this person," and I'm like, "Okay, back to what we're talking about." Okay. So, to get a little bit, like, juicier,
Hmm.
let's talk about I know you have a whole framework for your dating and relationships, right? You have your special acronym and everything. Let's dive in. Tell us
Mm.
about it.
So the acronym is DATE. DATE, my friends. So I'm gonna share with you all some really important aspects to think about. And we're drawing parallels between these 2 areas of our lives. And we want for you to be successful in your business. And we also care deeply about the relationships you're building with, in these intimate relationships. We want for you to be happy in all areas of your life. And so this acronym is really to fulfill both of those areas of your life. So we'll start with D, and D stands for discovering your needs and expectations.
Mhm.
Bex, a lot of us are so busy people pleasing. For whatever reason, however we were raised or programmed or
Right.
conditioned, I know in my culture, which is really interesting, we were programmed from the womb to people please and to serve our partners, our spouses,
Yeah.
our families. And
Same.
the typical role of a woman in society is you are the nurturer, you give
Right.
birth and you're nurturing them and you're feeding them and you're probably the breadwinner and so many other things.
Right.
And so here we are, just locked up in that version of ourselves where we're people pleasing not only our clients, because I've caught myself doing that, where boundaries were broken because I wanted to people please a CEO client of mine. And then I've also found myself wanting to people please the lover I had in my bed.
Right.
It's like, well, wait a minute. Well, what are
Right.
my needs and expectations?
Sure.
So
Sure.
we got to ask ourselves that before we go into building these relationships. right? Because we don't want the result to be unfulfilling because of an of a programming that you didn't know you had. And
Yeah.
so this is all about being aware. That's
Mhm.
why this framework is so important. So discovering your needs and expectations, that's the D.
Okay.
Again, we do that in both these areas of our lives. And then the A stands
Mhm.
for adapting and growing together. Now, listen,
Right.
you are a perfect example of adapting and growing in your business with your clients in these relationships. Like, I mean, you have loyalty, you have clients who will, follow you anywhere and beg you to come back to the chair, right? I mean, like I did. And so I
I'm
will pay for
here.
anything. Help me solve this problem of this crazy hair. And see, and that's important because that's what you've done
Mhm.
in this business aspect, in building this incredible beauty business. And then your intimate relationships,
Mhm.
right? Whether you're
Mhm.
dating or whether you are in a long-term relationship or partnership or even married like you and I.
Sure.
It's like you have to adapt and grow with one another.
Of course. Of course. Well, and, I think that there's this expectation around where you enter the relationship is where it's always going to stay, and that's just not the case. I mean, we go through seasons, there's life's
Mhm.
ups and downs. I mean, I have a lot of friends that were really high-powered businesswomen that had kids and all of a sudden decided that they really just wanna be home with their kids, but in a relationship where you've always taken on the breadwinner role, that's
Mhm.
big shift. Or the opposite, you had kids or you
Mhm.
didn't have kids and you want to be powerful, but previously you had agreed to stay home and take care of the house. I mean, I know that that all sounds very much like, "Oh, as women, these are our jobs." But it's true. I mean, it's true to say that they're not our jobs or our roles or our responsibilities, like, whether we fit into that or not, like you said, the people pleasing or our cultures kind of expect us to be those things. So if you
Mhm.
don't adapt and grow and change in the relationship, it does not work.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's yeah, and that's something I tell Michael all the time. My husband, it's like, "Look, I'm not the same person I was 3 weeks ago,
Mm.
and we're going on our
And I
14th
might not be
year."
the same tomorrow at
Exactly.
breakfast. I don't
Yeah,
know who I'm gonna be tomorrow.
yeah. I want to keep evolving and
Yeah.
growing and learning more about myself, and so, yeah, it's important that we remember what we want first and foremost before
Mhm.
we enter into these relationships, either in business or in intimacy.
Right.
So that was the A, again,
Okay.
adapt and grow together. Now the T, you ready for this one?
Yeah. Spill the tea.
Trust. I'm spilling the tea. Trust and reliability.
Yeah.
Now listen, if you're dating a dude or a chick who you don't trust,
Yeah.
why are we wasting time?
Right.
I don't know about you, but I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. I, I
Right.
mean, I'm at that age in my life where I'm like, listen, go do the thing and go dump the dude because this isn't going to work long
Right.
term. If you don't trust this person that you have in your bed, why are we wasting time?
Mm.
Or it's the goal is just to have some fun. Great. But
Great.
then why are we expending so much energy to try to change that individual so
Sure.
that we
And
can
both
then
people
trust them?
need to be on the same page. You can't have one person having fun and one person thinking, "Okay, we're having fun now, but, if I hang in there, it's gonna work out." It's everybody has to be on the same page, and that's a big part of
Right.
trust.
Right. And the other part of this equation is reliability,
Mhm.
right? Like I expect as your client in the business
Sure.
context, I expect for Bex to be reliable. And that means, is she masterful in her skills?
Mhm.
Is she providing the best value? And you have consistently,
Thank you.
reliably the last 13 years we've been together.
Mhm.
And so we want the same in our intimate partnerships, right?
Right.
Are they consistent? Are they a person of their word?
Mhm.
It's funny, I tell Michael Simpson, "You're predictable." And he goes, "No, I like to call it reliable, darling."
Yeah,
Like,
I like
I'm not
that.
predictable, I'm reliable. And so he reminds me of that all
It's
the time
true.
because it's like I know his behaviors, I know what he's gonna say, I know what he's gonna come home with, and he's just
Right.
like, "No, no, 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 I'm reliable."
Yeah, and reliability is safe, and I think that's important to know that even something as small as if you call somebody, they're gonna pick up the phone or text back, and if they don't immediately, it's because they've got something really important because they always get back to you and they're gonna get back to you. You're not gonna go a week not hearing from somebody you think you're in this intimate relationship with, which I
Right.
hear all the time, and that's what blows my mind is when somebody says, like, "Yeah, like, we're dating, but he hasn't called me for 4 or 5 days," and I'm like, "What?
Right.
Like, has he, like, texted and said he's out of the country? Like, what do you mean he hasn't called?" Like, that's bizarre to me because I know when I was dating, I might have accepted that, but I know in my relationships now, like, if my husband didn't come home overnight to answer my phone, like, we're gonna have some big problems, and he would never do that
Right.
because he's
Well, you know
reliable,
what?
predictable, but
That's
but, you know.
awesome. You know what? As you were saying that, I was thinking of all the times I wasn't reliable in my intimate relationships.
Same.
Like, oh my, like I would ghost and
Oh,
like I invented the term ghosting because
yes,
I would like hide out for a month and then call
yes,
the dude back up and go, "Oh, hi,
yes.
sorry about that."
I've been
He's
so
like,
busy.
"Yeah."
I couldn't even
So
text.
yeah, and so
I
it's
did the
interesting how you
same.
were saying that. I'm like, I was that person
No,
and I was
it's
not kind.
true. Well, and not to, like I mean, I was spinning it back to business, but it's I'm, like we talked about people pleasers, I'm very non-confrontational. So for me personally, communication style, it sounds crazy because it is uncomfortable, but I would rather somebody just ghost me than send me or have, like, a long conversation breakup or long breakup
Mhm.
text if we're not in an official relationship. So let's say
Right.
I went out with somebody 2 or 3 times in my past life. I would almost rather have them and we both know it's not really working. I'd rather have them just kinda, like, disappear, not respond to my
Mm.
text or be busy than send me this long message or this long call about all the reasons I'm not right.
Oh,
Just disappear.
wow. Yeah.
And I was that way with clients. So, like, if I did
Oh,
somebody's hair twice and I knew we weren't I just wasn't a good fit for them, I
yeah.
would rather them just not reschedule and not come back than
Wow.
get in touch with me and tell me, you know, I just don't like what you're doing. I don't think I just would like, "Okay, well, just don't come back. Don't
Just
tell
don't come
me."
back and
Which
don't
is
tell
that's
me.
so probably something I need to work through, but it's just my style. Now that's different
Yeah.
if I had a client for years and years and years, or I was seeing somebody, but,
Mhm.
like, just those casual relationships, I'm like, "Okay, we'll just go." And so I did that in return and probably was seen as
Mm.
unreliable, and
Mhm.
not super trustworthy because I would just
Mhm.
disappear because I thought, well, they don't want me to tell them that I don't, you know, like the
Yeah.
way they chew or whatever dumb thing I decided was a reason to break up with somebody.
That's
But
awesome.
anyway, it makes me think back to all the times that because of
Mm.
my communication style,
Mm.
I communicated ineffectively with someone.
Which is so
Mhm.
interesting you're talking about communication because that's such a great segue to our last
Right.
letter in this acronym DATE. E stands for effective communication.
Right.
Because you know yourself so well. You know your patterns, you know your
Mhm.
behaviors. I mean, I have somebody on my, Reddit, list, or what is it? Yeah. I read their text and I have not
Yes.
responded in over a week. And
Why
I'm
do
like,
we do
"Okay."
that? And then once time goes by, it's like, "Well, I can't respond now. It's been a
You
week."
ru Now I'm going, "Oh my gosh, I was super busy, forgot to respond, and now it's
Yes.
been a week," and I'm like, "Oh gosh." So
What do I
so
do?
there goes back to the reliability, but how is it that, you
That
communicate, right? And there's one thing to, communicate with, somebody in the boardroom, right,
right.
versus, your lover in the bed, right? I mean, we
Right.
communicate differently and in different contexts, but effective communication, that's what's important. It's like if we wanna build these relationships, we wanna be able to effectively share the information we want them to receive, right? Like, same thing with the lover in the bed, and maybe we wanna break up with him, and we don't know how to tell him, and then
Right.
there's Beck saying, "Well, just,
It's
don't
just
bother. Just don't text me, don't
I'm
talk,
moving.
why?"
Yeah.
And so it's important to know, well, how do I wanna be communicated to?
Mhm.
And I think that's where these dating apps and I met my husband on a dating app.
Yeah. That's what I
Yeah,
was
we
thinking
we
about,
were on
which is awesome.
eHarmony. Yeah, we weren't
eHarmony.
on
Okay,
we
I
were
remember eHarmony and Match days. Apparently,
that's
it's
how old I
easier
am.
these days. Easier and worse,
So
but
much
easier. Like, you just
easier.
swipe and look at a picture.
Yeah, and because
That's
there's the quantity that's out
Yes.
there, it's like, people don't value those relationships,
No.
and maybe not even they won't even make an effort to, like, kindly say, like, actually didn't work out, thanks
Yeah.
so much, wishing you the best." Like, nobody's doing that. I used to do that on eHarmony. I'm like, "Thanks, guy. It was a great we had a great time, but
I
I don't see anything." So, how you wanna be communicated to.
Right.
And I think, talking to Mick and we're, having her later, um, that's all very interesting. But how does
Right.
she wanna be communicated to? How is she communicating? And that was the whole challenge I gave her that we'll talk about in our next episode on,
Yes.
really getting to know herself and
Right.
then being able to build these relationships and, yes, the communication. How do you wanna be communicated to? How are you communicating to these people?
Yeah.
So, that is the DATE acronym.
I love
Isn't
it.
that
No,
great?
I think that that's great, and
Okay.
I think it's all so true. So, if you were applying this, like, I wanna talk about kind of what you challenged Mick to do so that when we bring her on or if somebody else wants to take the challenge, like, let's say we've got somebody who's either entering a new relationship or single and looking and kind of
Mm.
dating around, what are the challenges you would give them right now? Like, "Here's how I want you to enter into this," kind of like what you told Mick so that when we talk to her, we understand what she's been doing.
Well, I told Mick a lot of stuff,
I know.
like, I mean, I don't know if you saw
Feel
the
it.
text that I sent her. It's like it's a dissertation I sent her, and she was
Yeah.
just like, "Wow." Like, so I get before we get into, those specific
Yeah.
techniques with that we shared with Mick, I would want for whoever's listening to just understand what she wants.
Mhm.
Like, what do you want in this season of your life?
Mhm.
Are you focused on building the business? Or are you focused on building a family?
Right.
Now, can women have it all? Of course. But, there's gonna be give and take. There's
Sure.
gonna be some sacrifices. So if she says, "I just wanna have some fun right now," then that's the goal. Have
Mhm.
some fun creating these intimate, fun
Mhm.
relationships, have a great time, but if you're focused on building a six-figure beauty business,
Right.
that's the goal, my friend, and do
Sure.
not be distracted by it. That's the thing is, we're high achieving, highly ambitious women. We
Mhm.
go into businesses for ourselves because we know we have the potential, we know we have the value, we know we have the mastery in our skills, and we wanna build a successful empire so that then maybe one day we can have that family and we can
Right.
build that family with someone that we
Exactly.
trust and love and are reliable, right? And so I would ask her, whoever's listening to this, "What do you want?
Mhm.
What do you want? What is your heart's desire right now?" And then let's focus our attention there. Yes, you can still build the business if you wanting to find your partner for life is a big priority. You could still build the relationships in your business, right? So that you can create that six-figure business,
Sure.
right? So what do you want?
Mhm.
Because so many of us are so distracted and we're stimulated by so many things and ideas. And so we're so focused on relationship intimacy building, but we're failing on our clients.
Right.
That's
Right.
like
No,
like,
absolutely.
this is your livelihood.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know
absolutely.
about you, but right?
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's so true. I
Yeah, so I
absolutely
would
agree.
want her to start with that question. What
Yeah.
do I want?
I
What
mean,
are
I
my
think it's a
desires?
fair I can even ask myself that right now, even outside of
Yeah.
relationships or in my marriage or in my, like, day to day. What's gonna bring me joy? What do I want? Because I think we forget to ask ourselves that
Yes.
as often as we should, since it changes. So I think there should be, like, a check-in every once in a while with yourself, like, "Okay, what do I want? What do I want right now? Am I on that path? Am I on the path to what I want?"
Mm,
So, I think that's super true.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, good. Because I struggle with this too, just like you said. We're married, we have seven-figure businesses, but but we have to ask ourselves, what are our current desires right now
Yeah,
in this particular season?
sure.
And what's interesting right now is I'm hyper focused on scaling the business, and you and I have talked about my
Yes.
scaling opportunities on my end and what I wanna do and how many more people I wanna serve.
Right.
How many more leaders do I wanna support and help? And so I'm hyper focused on that right now.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is take them quarter by quarter, like
Sure.
quarter by quarter goals. And so 90 days are up, and that goal is either accomplished or
Sure.
not. And if
Sure.
it's not, do I need another extra week or 2?
Sure.
Right? And so if you're building a business and, you're hyper focused on building the livelihood that's going to support you then starting the family, well, then what are your 90-day goals? And
Right.
this is the season, and stay focused on it.
Sure.
Right? We can't flip flop all the time like we are in dating
Right. Well, and I
when it
think it's
comes to our business.
true to, like, really I think it's very easy when somebody says, "What do you want?" to kinda spill off what you've always wanted or what you think you should want or
Mhm.
but I think if you go through a 90-day or even, like, a six-month period and you're like, "I want this," and you're not accomplishing it, you're working towards it, maybe it's not what you want. Because if that
Mhm.
alignment in what you want isn't there, you're not gonna get it. So I
Mhm.
think it's important to Ev really evaluate yourself and be like, "Okay, I'm
Mhm.
saying I want this, but I'm not getting it, and I'm not really working towards it. So is it even really what I want, or do I think I should want this? Or is it what I've already been on this path for so long, how can I turn in another direction when this is the path I've been on?" So
Mhm.
that's a big one, and it's a deep
That's
question.
a big one, and that is deep.
It's a big
Absolutely it is.
challenge
Yes,
to have
yes.
somebody think of
Ooh.
what they truly want. So
Oh my gosh.
right?
I'm gonna, like,
Whoa.
journal on this one.
I know, me too, I'm like, "Oh my god, what do I want?" You guys
Oh,
like, in my next
right,
podcast, I'm gonna be like, "Guys, I want you guys to know I'm gonna be a flight attendant." No, I'm just kidding.
right?
Just
Yes, I'm moving to
I'm
Bali, I'm gonna
leaving
be a
the
yoga instructor.
industry. Yeah. Turns out I didn't know what I wanted.
Wow, that may be
So,
like a midlife crisis
it
thing.
really
Listen,
is. It's true
I'm
though.
almost there, my friend. I'm almost there, and,
Yes.
there's some existential questions I'm asking myself right now too. It's like,
Yeah, it's
is this
big.
yeah, and talking about, I don't know why this just came to mind, boundaries, right?
Sure.
Having the boundaries with yourself, your partners, your clients, like, right? Because
Yeah,
we're so consumed with what do they want?
right?
How can I serve them better? And is this goal actually what I want or is it what they want?
Mhm.
And so hold on. Like, let's talk about boundaries for
I agree.
yourself and for them. And something that's come up for me lately is scaling this business going to bring me more value in my life? And if
Mhm.
so, what does that look like? Does it look like financial value? Does it
Sure.
look like portfolio assets? Does it look like just, on my way to write that book so that more
Right, or
people
even,
know
like,
who I
fame or acknowledgement, or what is it
Right.
that you're seeking with that scaling?
Right, and almost doing, like, a cost benefit analysis or cost like a risk,
Mhm.
analysis where you look at, "Okay, well, what is this gonna cost me? Is it gonna cost my soul? Am I gonna have to
Right.
sacrifice my morals and integrity for this?"
Mhm.
Right? Or am I gonna gain, more value in this way? And so
Sure.
it's always this push and pull in my brain, and maybe for you as a business,
Oh, yeah.
founder, I mean, it's always this, "Okay, is it gonna bring me more joy, bring me more
Right. Is it
value, bring
fulfilling?
is
Yes,
it
or am I
fulfilling?"
chasing something like, I always think, do I continue to want something more and bigger and bigger and bigger because I'm not fulfilled with it? Or is it just
Mm.
that it's so fulfilling that I wanna keep going? And that's a big
Wow.
it's a big question, right? Like,
Yes.
why does it always need to be more? And at what point do you
Mm.
go, "Oh, that's enough." And maybe you never do. Maybe you never
Oh.
it's never enough, but that's just something to explore. In
Oh.
fact, boundaries, one thing I thought of is, I think we have this idea that boundaries are a very external thing. Like when you create a boundary, you are expecting someone to I'm gonna tell this person what to do because it's my boundary and I expect them to do it.
Mm.
Like I'm setting a boundary with you. But I really think boundaries are more internal than that. Like, I'm setting this
Mm.
boundary for myself, and if this person can't
Mm.
be a part of my life and in the capacity that they are and accept my boundaries, then they're
Yeah.
not a good fit. But, I think that we get confused and we expect because we've set this boundary with someone, we expect them to automatically
Mm.
respect it and
Mhm.
change behaviors, and I just don't think that that's what boundaries are. What do you
Interesting.
think? Like, how do you feel
Yeah.
about
Well, I when I think of a boundary, I'm in my home. I
Mhm.
paid for this property. I love my house. I wanna keep it nice and protected and
Yeah,
safe, and I wanna, have the lawn manicured, and I wanna have,
right.
a beautiful interior design inside.
Sure.
I want it to be welcoming, but I don't want for the neighbor's wild dog to
Right.
come and destroy my plants. And I don't want for some
Right.
rando on the street to come and break down my door. So I have to put up a fence.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like an internal, like, while I can ask that person not to do that, that gives away control. Like, it's not, I can't control what others do. I can set boundaries. I
Yeah.
can know what I want, but my job is to make sure that I'm protecting myself and
Mhm.
comfortable. And how do I do that?
Yeah. Well, and if we go back to the framework and E being effective communicator,
Mhm.
sometimes if you are in that partnership in an intimate relationship and there is something that's troubling you, perhaps this person is not wanting to be monogamous because that's what you
Mhm.
value. You want to have a monogamous relationship. So, what if this individual is open to other relationships and maybe has failed to tell you that he's open to other relationships?
Sure.
And maybe you want to effectively communicate to him, this is a value that's important to me. Monogamy is.
Yeah.
And if it's not to you, then we need to talk about what we could, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Do we
Where
go
do we compromise? Is
Mhm.
this a relationship that works? Is there a
Yeah.
compromise, that we're yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
And
I think it's
we don't
both maybe.
communicate those things early in the relationship because you
Mm.
think, "I don't deserve that communication yet." Like, I don't wanna pry into their life. I'm not their girlfriend or their spouse, but if you wait until you're the spouse to ask the difficult questions, then it's
Yeah.
too late.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and we get into some trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why a lot of us are in some interesting predicaments right now
Mhm.
because of
Mhm.
the lack of communicating. It's
Yes.
I just if you wanna call effective communication self-advocacy, call it that.
Yeah. Oh, I like
That's
that.
that's super empowering.
I
Like,
like
I'm gonna
that.
advocate for my values and my
Sure.
boundaries, and I'm however it comes out, it's gonna need to come out. If I'm yelling at you, sorry about that, but if I'm writing you an email about it, great. Like, whatever, but
Yeah.
I'm communicating because I have self-advocacy. So, like, I mean, that's
Yeah.
one way of looking at it, but I love how juicy we got
I
into
know,
into
I know, this
into
was
the weeds
great.
here. This is
I'm like,
good.
"Are we off topic?" I'm like, "Really? This topic is so broad." I think that, that's really why it was so important to me whenever we started talking about dating relationships, and I'm like, "This is client relationships too." So kind of to circle back, what I was thinking about is when we're working with our clients, in a salon environment, whatever that looks like, you know, and we go back to your DATE acronym, and we're
Mhm.
discovering our needs and what we want, I think that that's where we say, "Okay, what type of client do I wanna work with?
Mhm.
What type of hair do I wanna do?" And that's even more deep. What kind of personality type do I wanna deal with? And it can be depending on who you are. I mean, some stylists love to be therapists, like, they enjoy
Mhm.
I personally I love to have conversations with my clients. I love to know about them. I love to know about their kids.
Mhm.
I don't mind having those conversations where for some stylists, it's absolutely
Mm.
draining
Mm.
and they really just wanna
Mhm.
focus on the hair, and there's so many clients out there that are perfect, but it's really discovering what your needs are in this client
Mm.
relationship and who fits into that, and then adapting and growing. So, as you're
Mm.
adapting with your clients, it's also realizing, what clients maybe have changed and no longer fit with your ideal client type, and maybe releasing some of those clients and making room for people who fit where you're growing towards. And then trust, of course, and
Mhm.
reliability. That's I
Mhm.
mean, when we talk
Yeah.
about business relationships, that's not just, I'm making it very much about the client, but this is, can our
Mhm.
clients trust us? Are
Right.
we reliable?
Right.
Are we what we say we're going to be? Are we consistent? Are we constantly providing what we say we're going to provide? I think it's a
Mhm.
place to kind of look inward. And
Mhm.
then effective communication, which we've talked a lot about, is
Mhm.
just making sure that we I think it's very easy to not say what you expect from a client and expect them to be that way. So,
Mhm.
you know, depending on the client relationship, I think sometimes we'll be frustrated or irritated with a client, or they'll be frustrated or irritated with us. But the real problem is we're just not talking about things. Nobody has
Wow.
expressed their needs, and so, yeah, I love how we can take this and I mean, it's 100% for relationships and apply it to all the relationships in our
Mhm.
life, and I think you could take the same thing and do it in a marriage. You could do
Yes.
it with a best friend if you're struggling with maybe a friend you've had for years, you could I think it's important to acknowledge how important these things are, and like what we talked about, knowing what you want. You can't
Mhm.
None of this works if you don't know what you're looking for or what you want in
Right.
a client relationship, in a dating relationship, in a friendship. If you don't know what you want and it's constantly changing, imagine being in a relationship with that person. I don't
Mm,
That's hard whenever you don't know what's expected of you as a partner or a friend. So,
mm.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Wow. Oh, you just wrapped that up
I
in
learned
a
so
clean
much.
bow. It's such a powerful conversation, you're right, these are the conversations that we must have. I
Yeah.
mean, we're building these beauty businesses, and in my case, my
Yep.
research company, and we also want fulfilling, loving, intimate
Sure.
relationships where we trust and have a reliable partner in our lives. I
Yes.
mean, this is life
Right.
and business coaching that we're doing today. And, with Mick and her techniques and strategies, we'll share that next time. It's
Yeah. I'm
because
so
it's
excited. I hope
juicy.
Nick
This
is
is
ready
so
for this. She's gonna have to be, like, super open and honest, and I
oh
mean,
gosh.
everybody listening I mean, there's people listening I don't know, but a lot of my stylists, everybody knows Mick. She's their manager, so
Yes.
I think
Oh
it's
my
gonna
gosh.
be really fun, but I do think it's gonna be good for her too to have these conversations and to talk it through. I think it's gonna be fun for everybody listening, but, I mean, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. I feel like we could go
Oh
on and
gosh.
just keep diving deeper, and maybe we will. Maybe there'll be a part 3 or a part 4 because I
Oh
love
my.
this, but,
Wow.
part 2, we're gonna bring Mick on.
Mhm.
We're gonna talk about, her past dating, what she's changed, what's working and what's not, and then we're gonna open up to some questions. So, with that being said, if anybody is interested with relationship questions or business questions, we can
Mhm.
really do either.
Mhm.
Um, Go ahead and message me, Instagram, or message Denise, either of us, and let us know that you wanna be on, maybe kinda prep us with what you wanna talk about, and we will give you the time that we're gonna meet next and have you kinda come on the background. We'll pull you on stage to ask your question, and we'll chat for a little while, so sounds fun. I'm really
So
excited.
much fun.
Oh, this has
Oh
been
my
great.
gosh. I encourage everybody, send us a question or DM us just like Beck
Yes.
said, because we wanna support you. We've
Yeah.
been there, done that, and we're still doing it. And so
Yeah.
we just yeah, we wanna, share all of this wisdom because there's a lot of strategy involved in
Sure.
business building and in dating.
Yeah.
And the strategies that we're gonna talk about next time with Mick are very clear, and
Yeah.
you all are gonna be so surprised, and it's gonna be really juicy and exciting, and there'll be strategies you can implement right
I
away.
love it.
Oh.
And you're not gonna get Denise and I are both pretty blunt, and we're gonna if you ask us a question, you're gonna get your answer.
Mhm.
I mean, it's gonna be
Yeah.
nice, but you're gonna get your answer, so be prepared for that.
That's true.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. I think this has been so much fun. I mean, even I've got my head spinning with ideas and I feel
Me too.
inspired. So I really appreciate all your knowledge and your willingness to share all of this. I mean, if you guys knew how much Denise charges,
Yeah, you know.
you would understand how valuable this 45 minutes has been. I mean, seriously, this is a valuable 45 minutes that we've spent with her. So
I
that's
appreciate that.
super
Oh,
important.
thanks, Bex. I'm looking forward
Yes.
to the next and the next and the next,
Yeah,
however many more you'd like to have me on. I'd love to be here to
of
support
course.
you
We're
and
gonna keep doing it. So yes, part 2, you guys DM us with your questions and if you want to come on, or we can answer your question without you on. But we would love to do that. So all right, Denise, thank you so much. This wraps up Glam Chats for this week, and we will talk soon.
wonderful.
Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Of course.